consent. Yes, ma'am. Has everybody looked at the agenda? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
I second the motion.
Those in favor? Agenda is approved. Now into old business. City clerk position, Mr. Wallace, would you like to address that?
Yes, sir. The city clerk position had been announced and it closed out on February 28th. We ended up having like 140 applicants. We went through and weeded them out. Most of them did not meet the qualifications. I chose the ones that did. I will begin interviewing on Friday, tomorrow, and I'll be interviewing through Monday, the end of business Monday. And I will choose the top 3 candidates and bring them for the council for approval on the one we decide.
Anybody have any questions? All right, the job openings with the water and sewer and street department.
Those closed out as well. We had 1 part-time position in the street department and 1 full-time in the water and sewer department. We did interviews yesterday and today, and James and Irwin will be making their choices, for June, tomorrow. And hopefully we can have that person on board by Monday, because we need some help, especially Irwin.
When did those close? Same day, every
No, they closed, last Friday.
All right, well, let's move into new business. The fencing at the rec park.
Okay, the rec board met, last week, I think it was, and, AC Cooper had requested to add some fencing to the rec park, and I'm gonna let him explain, what he needs and why he needs it and all that.
Well, the reason being for the fencing for the park is, most rec departments, the regulation fields for rec kids is 200 foot. Apparently ours is like 300, so that being said, I was wanting to put some 200 feet fence out, because I think it'll be a big attraction for like later on whenever we start like trying to do tournaments. Most parks you go to, that's what they are anyway. I mean, most parks have 200 feet park. So I got a couple of quotes from a couple of different companies and all, and I wanted to present that to y'all and just see what y'all thought. And I just think it'll be a big attraction in the future for us to do the tournaments. Cause like I say, everywhere we go, that's what they do, and I think it attracts a lot of teams, because a lot of people the kids want to have a chance to hit a home run. So if the fence is 300 foot, with little kids, they can never do it. So if we can add that, it's going to help us for the tournaments and everything else. So I got 2 quotes from B&S Sports. They gave me a quote of $34,194, and that's 3 fields, all 3 fields with the mounts that goes to them that will be permanent. And all we have to do is just come back and stick the fence up. Good thing about it, and we've been having to buy like that stuff they use like to block the roads off when they're doing construction on the road, and it don't last very long. It's set in the sun and it dry out and it's no good. And we're having to buy that like every year 2 or 3 times. So I figured if we got this, it would be good for the long haul. We won't have to continue to spend money on that same thing. Another one, I got a quote from On Deck Sports, which is they wanted $45.57 for it, and it's pretty much the same thing. And we can almost save over a little bit over $1,000 on if we went with B&S Sports over On Deck Sports.
What was that first deal?
First bid was $34,194, and the second bid was $45.57.63. I just think it'll be a big attraction moving forward with the park.
you familiar with these companies?
Well, actually, I did a little bit of business with being in sports, not a whole lot, but 1 or 2 times. I bought balls and a couple other different things from them, but this other company was my first time kind of dealing with them, because I was just trying to find the money we probably can get. I mean, with good quality stuff, but probably with a cheaper price, so I just searched around, and that's how I ended up talking to them.
I've done business with ESPN Sports before, working at residential, we would buy all of our, rec, equipment for the inmates, and they are a good company to be about.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. I think we'll need to discuss that a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, Mr. Easton Rodriguez has an Eagle Scout project.
I had a call from the mother of Easton Rodriguez. He is a 17-year-old student. He is trying to get his Eagle Scout badge. And in order to get it, he has to complete a project. And he chose to redo the gazebo across from the courthouse. He saw that it was in need of some repairs and needed to be repainted. So he wanted to take that on as his project. It's not gonna cost the city a penny. All the expenses will be borne by him and whoever helps him with his project. So it'll be a plus for the city. Plus it's not gonna cost us anything, and it'll help him out. All he needs is the council's approval in order to move forward on doing it.
Well, I'm all for helping, especially somebody trying to do something as admirable as that. Does anyone have a comment on that? Would y'all like to?
Need to go ahead and make a motion.
I would do, yes.
I make a motion to approve Easton Rodriguez Eagle Scout project.
Have a second? Second. Those in favor? Opposed? Please tell Mr. Rodriguez we're proud of him. All right, the part-time janitor position.
I am requesting that the mayor and council allow me to hire a part-time, janitor. We don't have anybody to keep City Hall, in order, to clean and do whatever. Sometimes we have, what is it,
Probation.
well, they're not really things.
Well,
Community service.
Community service.
To come up there, but it's infrequent. So I want something more steady, more, concrete in place to have that place clean. But not only will they be responsible for cleaning, City Hall, they'll also be responsible for keeping the depot clean as well as keeping the airport clean. Because whenever we get these, other entities clean, like the depot and the airport, we usually have to pay somebody to do it. So I would rather just go ahead and hire a part-time person, and that would be their responsibility to keep, all 3 areas clean.
Do you have an idea of what type of pay you're looking at?
I'd say maybe $8 or $9 an hour for 30 hours.
We can discuss that in executive session.
Absolutely, just want to get an idea. All right, we'll move on to delinquent business license.
Okay, the clerk brought to my attention the fact that we have quite a few businesses in town, that have not renewed their business license. I got a list of them right here, and some of them are big businesses. There's no reason for them to not have, renewed their license. I just wanted to, make the council aware of it, and maybe even give some suggestions on how we can move forward with, collecting
get an idea, or several ideas of what we can do to encourage people to renew their licenses on time. I don't have any ideas as of yet, but we can work towards that. All right, well, we got out of that quickly, now we're moving into the meat of everything. Ms. Carol Glaze, are you present? Ms. Carol, would you like to, represent or talk to the council?
Good afternoon. I want to talk about the ditches in the houses, we've been on this for a long time. All the ditches, not only in certain places, all over the city, the ditches are stopped up, they need cleaning out because the water can't drain. And especially the ditch over in St. Hill. Now, the last time that ditch was cleaned out, it's been about 10 or 11 years ago, and that's when the county and the city was getting along good, and the county cleaned it out. They started on the other side of the prison, which was the prison then, and they went all the way out to Turkey Lake, cleaned it all the way through, and it hasn't been cleaned since. And everything, a lot of the stuff come that way, and then it backs up. So, and ain't none of the ditches been cleaned out. Then we have a lot of old raggedy houses around here, they need to be tore down. And when David was working with the city, me and David used to get together like once a month, and we'd get on the computer and he'd send out letters to people, you know, like that clean up around the house, tear the houses down, and you know, we was getting a little headway after he left. Well then, you know, it just run away. And there's a lot of houses around here, and they've been there a long time. They can't be fixed. They need tearing down, cause Homerville look very, very bad when you know, like ride through the community. And the houses are just there, they're just there. So the ditches need to be cleaned out, and these old houses need to be torn down. Then you have land. A lot of the people, they don't live in Homerville. So somebody need to get in touch with them. In some kind of way, they need to have their land cleaned, because all they do is, I read they can't send the tax money back in, but the land is just growing up and it look like a wilderness. So Homerville just look terrible. It could look better if people get to work and clean up the property and stuff. Just a lot of work we're doing around here that make Homerville look better.
Well, I think we've discussed some of this in the past. The council, we're in agreement with you. The question is finding the resources to accomplish these things, and we're working on that. Things were somewhat difficult when we came in here, and we're trying to fix the finances first. I mean, that's the most important thing. And once we do that, I think we can better address your concerns. As for the ditches, we're working on that presently every day. There's a lot that goes into that. I mean, we have a water system that's outdated and almost in a state of collapse. But we've been blessed to have a grant that's gonna help us improve that. So if you'll bear with us just a tad longer, we can come back and address the housing issues you're talking about. But right now, it's my opinion that we should focus on the ditches and the water. And then once we do that, hopefully we'll have a better idea of where we are in a financial position to help do some of these other things. But I totally agree with you. Thank you. Trevor Poe.
This, well, I came here today basically to talk about the P Ridge Park in the community. The main thing that basically, that we wanna basically, let y'all be aware of. Like I say, unfortunately, uptown is not a place where the kids can go in the community on Pea Ridge, and basically they can play and everything like that right there, because the main thing is, they got to go across the railroad track, then they got to cross 4 lanes of highways if they did want to go play to a decent enough park. Not to mention the part that they have already in the community. Well, we've been looking into that. Well, I have, and I have had a lot of people looking into it. And the main thing is, like I said, we know we got to come before the council to get approval of everything. We got a lot of people that's willing to donate and willing to do work for free to try to get the community park together. I talked to a guy the other day. He came by and me and him talked, and he came out there and he looked at all the courts. I know for a fact you have 2 full court basketball courts out there the size of the high school gym. Okay, and then you got a small one that's half of the size. So the main thing is, I know for a fact, I talked to the guy, he's willing to paint those, put the stripes on them, fix the cracks in them for $4,000, which I know for a fact will be way cheaper than anybody around here, which I know of. So the fact of the matter, that is the main thing. And like I said, the main thing is also, I talked to a lot of people in other communities about what they did to get their park situated, and the main thing was grants. But the thing about it is, with Homerville, we can't get the grants until we get an audit did. So the main thing is trying to get those grants did and get everything did so we can get the audit did, so we can figure out everything that's going on with the community park and trying to get it situated so the kids can have somewhere to play at. And like I said, I put up, like I said, I took some pictures of it. One of the things I know, like I say, Miss Cat herself has been coming up here year after year, basically trying to get the same thing did about the community park. Because the main thing is, like I say, man, it's run down. Like I say, right now I'm 30 years old, and the main thing is, like I say, that park been there, and my uncle is going on 50-something years old, and he says the same park, same playground has been at that park since. The only thing I know have been changed at that park is the paint on the walls. That's it. Like I said, anything other than that, whatever tears up, it get pulled up and don't get fixed. My thing is, like I said, I understand, like I said, they got the Main Street program going on. Like I said, the thing about it is we're willing to take help wherever we can get it from. Like I said, we got a lot of people in the community that's willing to do work for free. And like I say, to try to have a better place for the kids to work. So that's my main thing is, and like I say, if we can, like I say, we've been trying to tackle it, but like I say, I know we had to come before the council to get approval of it. So if we can get approval of that, I know for a fact we can start trying to get it cleaned and get everything did, because we got a lot of people that's willing to give us some donations, and also so to try to get this park up the par and get everything back up and running with.
Well, I'm in agreement, and I know the council is, and we've all talked to people who are willing to donate, not only their money, but their time, and, we're on it, I think, and council, please correct me if I'm wrong, I think what we need to do is meet with the Pea Ridge Community Park Committee, and let's make sure we're all headed in the same direction, so we can try to get the thing fixed up for those children once and for all.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's opposed to it, but just give us a little time to work with that committee and get a better, sense of what they think is needed. Your plea is not going unheard, trust me.
Yes.
When is the next meeting?
It's 15th, next Tuesday.
The meeting is next Tuesday?
I beg your pardon?
We got a Pea Ridge Park committee, a board there, everything on the go through the them.
Right.
And we kinda short with law enforcement there. We kinda, so we're taking a little bit to get back on the track there, see, cause, anyway, the Pea Ridge Park, you wouldn't recommend, what
I agree that, I think what we've been trying to do was just see where we could get donations of whatever type, and then turn that over to Pea Ridge Park and let them tell us what they need.
So the next meeting is when?
The 15th. next week
What time?
at 5:30.
So the next meeting is next one, 15th at 5:30 at Pea Ridge Park.
And I spoke with one of the Pea Ridge Park Committee, members, and we, a while back, we spoke about putting new equipment out at the park, but their concern is they have some issues on the inside of the building they're trying to fix before they move to the outside. So I think they have some roof problems out there, and they're trying to fix that, but we've already discussed putting some new equipment, but I totally agree, if they gonna say they're gonna accept all the help we can get to fix this park.
We got to do that.
The main thing goes back to Ms. Cooper's spot, it goes back to money. It all goes back to that. And we've got people of all races willing to help and contribute. So we'll just keep working together, but it still goes to the Pea Ridge Park and that committee, and they have to tell us what they feel is the most appropriate use for that money. And Ms. Williams is probably 100% right. There may be some structural things, but there also has to be the thing for the children. I mean, that's what we're doing it for. You know, we want to help law enforcement, and I don't care what community it's in. The best thing to do is get the children something positive. And that's what's important about this. So I think we're all on board. Let us just do a little more investigating with the committee, and we're moving on it, I promise. Okay, I see they're getting front and front. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir. Try to keep this short, so y'all know I take you a long time. That's why I always got something.
Anybody's got that.
Yeah, I always miss some, so I need to make sure y'all have it, so you all can go back and read it. All right. I am trying to keep this short as possible. Basically, we want to talk about the city dog that De Lorenzo say he donated for $17,500. Ms. Nan confirmed at one of the meetings that the donation of the dog was accepted, but why haven't nobody done an open investigation concerning the theft of the city dog, because nobody don't know where the dog is. And I know that Derby is working hard on my case because me and him done been in cahoots and talked about it a lot. But however, the ones that's issued through the city, they be illegal from the store. There's no inventory sheet. My property went missing, and Leonard told me that Leonard basically told me that he found some of my stuff, but he didn't find all of my stuff. So I filed a report, but ain't nobody been arrested. Nobody got arrested for it. Just like the dog is missing. Okay, I filed a theft report on November the 1st. I ain't got no updates. It ain't had no arrests, and I haven't heard anything about the investigation. Also, they're arresting the local newspaper, and I'm taking a shot at the paper right now because Officer Manning was plastered all over the paper when he got arrested. But I looked back, and when Byron Morgan got in trouble with the GBIs and they fired him, he was not on the front page. Even when it came down to the situation with Eichmann, nobody was put in the paper. It seems like every time it's somebody of color, they get plastered and they get humiliated. But then when it come down to somebody of another race, it's always a little small write-up, like it's getting rolled over. And Lynn personally said to me when I first came a year ago, he said, I only put in the paper what is given to me to write. So is it altered from the Homerville Police Department, or is it that's what he choose to do? He put in there what he feel he need to put in there. But however, when my stuff was taken a year ago, it's a guy named Brandon. He was arrested on multiple charges, and it was quoted by De Lorenzo that the Homerville Police Department received documentation from the Superior Court in reference to forfeiture of his case, October of 2020. The police found a pound of marijuana, which it was 2. They found 2 pounds of marijuana, but they only reported 1. And we want to know if that is in the evidence room. And they also took a Jeep Cherokee and a Honda motorcycle and $10,000 in cash that was seized. That was seized in the book. De Lorenzo said the seized cash was used for purchase of equipment for the department, but the other items will be auctioned off. But the $10,000 cash was never reported to the DA or the Superior Court, and I have evidence to prove that. It was never in the forfeiture paperwork. The trailer that the man had with his tools on it, our city is using it right now, and they also using his tools. So if we're wondering why was that done? How could they use his tools and it was not part of the forfeiture? And we're basically trying to reach out and see why does every time something get taken, I know I'm not the only person that has something taken from them, but if something get taken and you're not convicted in court, then okay, then somebody just started using your stuff, and then what if you found out guilty? Then what do you supposed to do? You're supposed to just say, well, they took my stuff, I lost my money, and that's that. I feel like something is going wrong, and I feel like we need to get somebody to come investigate all the cases. All the cases from De Lorenzo to Manning. Ever since De Lorenzo and Manning there was the captain and the chief, it's so much stuff that I'm finding out in 1 year's time that went wrong that should be investigated. Now, I was going to just do away with the whole situation, but a lot of people told me, well, Chris, we pulling for you, we fighting for you. And I know I went wrong from the beginning, and I refused to accept the fact that they trying to make me wrong. And I feel like it's a lot should be going on. Like, from the beginning, we should be going to the Georgia Post to pick all our officers, and that's no shot at you, Durr, because, I mean, me and you, like I say, me and you good. But we should be pulling records. Seems like if you go back and check the records of all the police departments, every police that done worked in multiple places, when he got a bad record or when he got this and that going on with the Georgia Post, he run to Homerville, and Homerville give him a job. If you lose your job at the city, go to the county, you won't get hired. That's not right. That's not right. The requirements were, if I want to go and be a mechanic at Mazda right now, I'm going to need some requirements. Or they're going to say, well, you get training on the job. But what if you done had the job multiple times and you failed at the job? That means they should bring me in and put me over everybody? That's not how that should work. But anyway, I'm just reaching out to see what can we do about getting an internal investigation through on all the cases. Just investigate from the beginning of everything that De Lorenzo and Manning done. Because we said it a year ago when my case came up. We asked the city council, and we asked them to just terminate it because they're gonna cost the city a whole bunch of money. Now that Manning's gone, and Manning in his situation, and De Lorenzo in his situation, all it's gonna lead to is a bunch of lawsuits for money that Clinch County does not have. It's obvious that we don't have the money, but it's gonna lead to a lot of lawsuits. So I feel like we should be trying to pull together as one, and you guys can do way more than I can. If I'm doing just this by myself, then I know y'all got better connections than I do to connect to whoever you got to connect to and get something done so the people can be calm and say, well, okay, well, the system fight for us, so we fight for the system.
Well, I don't disagree with you. The officers make excellent points. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Manning's an ongoing investigation that we can't touch. Is that not correct, Chad?
That's my understanding.
So we can't do anything there. As far as looking into some of these other concerns you have, again, I didn't mean if somebody else wanted to talk, I didn't mean to just speak up. I think we need to look a little more in depth and see if there's something there. Maybe the chief can take a look and see if you see something that appears abnormal to you, and then alert the council, and then help us figure out the best way to go from there. Because no citizen black or white, should be wrong. So none of us are up here for that. But again, there's a process, and I don't know the process.
Yes, sir.
That's what we're gonna hear shortly.
And Mr. Mayor, the only problem is now, and I think Durham, I think you're gonna be good as chief. But my words to you, and I say it in front of everybody, and I'm saying it, I hope everybody looking now. Do it your way. If you don't do it your way, and you listen to everybody else on the outside, somewhere you're gonna be wrong.
I agree.
Somewhere you're gonna be wrong. And you gonna get hung for it. It ain't gonna be them.
I agree.
It's gonna be you get hung for it.
I agree.
The same way with you, Mr. Mayor, it's gonna work the same way. That's why if you do it right, then you can sleep good tonight. We all can sleep good tonight if they do it right.
That's right.
That's what I was saying from the beginning. I sit on county soil. Right now, Ukraine and Russia is at a fight over soil. Okay, I was on county soil when they took my stuff. This is the city police department took my stuff. That you're not county, so you do not have the rights to do that. But it was done. But here it is, a year I'm still fighting for the same thing. I don't understand it.
And
Well,
Chris,
I'm sorry.
it's unfortunate that this has been going on, and I'm new to it, understanding that, but I think that he does deserve, he's been coming up here month after month after month, asking us something, so it does deserve for us to look into this, and I'm like him, I don't know where the dogs are at, so I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, but he said he donated. And Ms. Nan said she set the donation, but where the dog? If he cost £17,000, I spent well over $17,000 in my building. It was tough, and it rolled off in the sunset. Nobody can't find my stuff neither. They can't find the dog. So I mean, if we're gonna take stuff, let me take some and let me win one time. Let me see how it feels to take some and then nobody can do nothing about it. I mean, it's crazy, and it make you mad sometimes. But you can't be mad at the people that's in position now. But at the same time, if we go back and fix the stuff that was wrong then from this point forward, we can move forward in the right direction.
I don't think anybody up here disagrees with you. We need to learn more about it.
Yes, sir.
I'm not doubting what you said, don't get me wrong, that's not what I mean. But again, just like going back to Manny, that's an ongoing investigation. We can't touch it. If there's something concerning Del Lorenzo, as you're stating here, well, that is something we can probably look into. But I would think the most prudent thing to do is let the chief look and see if he thinks, and I don't mean going after somebody, but if he thinks something looks abnormal, and if it does, then I think it should be up to the council to determine, should we try to get somebody else to come in here?
Let me say this, well, to them, to the city, to the citizens, it does look abnormal. Because like Christopher said in the meeting before, he did state that he was donating those dogs to the city. Do we know where those dogs are?
I know where that dog is.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Is it with the city?
From my understanding is he donated that dog, he paid $2,500 for that dog. That dog was bought from Roger Goddard, who works at the sheriff's office. Okay, he got the dog, they signed a contract, he would donate the dog to the city for $1. Upon him leaving, if he left, they would give that dog back to only him, his
Where's
donation.
that? You have that contract?
I don't have the contract, but that was my understanding of it. The contract should be up there at the city somewhere.
Have you seen anything about the contract?
If we go back and look at the city council meeting and see what he said to Ms. Nan and what Ms. Nan said to him, he said he was donating that dog to the city. He was leaving that dog, I'm resigning and I'm donating that dog to the city. And she accepted the dog. So if the dog ain't with the city, then she must take it to her house. So the dog is not, we want to know where the dog is. I want to know where everybody's stuff at. From my stuff missing, I want to see how many people missing something.
Well, I understand you want to know, especially after what you've been through. Just give us a little more time to look into it and give the chief time to, just like this contract. I don't think any of us knew anything about it, or maybe y'all did. I know I didn't, I wasn't here. But give us time to look into it. If there's something there, and there's something wrong, I can assure you we'll do everything we can to correct it.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you for coming. Mr. Hanson, are you ready?
Well, Well, I don't have a handout, but I will try to keep it short. Okay? First of all, I'd like to thank you for letting me talk with you this afternoon. I'm here as a representative of the City of Homerville Zoning Board and to discuss with you a violation of that zoning code at this point. First of all, a little bit of history. And some of this history may not sound like it's relevant, but I assure you it is. On September 20 of 2020, the zoning board was called to a meeting by Ms. Michael, the city manager at the time, to discuss a request for a zoning change or variance from Mr. Tim Smith on some property he has on Virginia Avenue. The zoning board heard his request. We discussed the situation, and the zoning board denied his request for several reasons. First of all, the proposed house that he planned on putting on that property, he estimated it being about 600 square feet. The piece of property he's putting it on is zoned for no less than 1,500 square feet. So he was asking to put a house on a piece of property that is less than half of what the zoning requirement calls for. Also, the lot size was too small. The lot size for that particular residential section, to put a piece, put property or put a house on, is requires it to be 15,000 square feet. That lot is only 100 by 81, which makes it 8,100 square feet. So the lot's too small, even if you was trying to put 1,500 square feet, or, house on. And then the other issues that the zoning board looked at was, a letter from a homeowner that lives on that street, on Virginia Avenue, stating various reasons of why they did not agree with us making a variance change. Everything from economically to appearance to several other things. And that's a full page letter. The other thing is there was a conversation between one of the zoning board members, Mr. Brent Jones, with another homeowner and property owner on that street, voicing his displeasure with any change that the zoning board or the city council may have. So the recommendation of the zoning board was carried before the city council, this group here, on September 10 of 2020. 8 days after the zoning board met. The city council agreed with the zoning board's position and denied the request. Matter of fact, I don't know that the city council has ever denied changing something that the zoning board recommended. If you do, I don't have it in my records. So, to my knowledge, on September the 10th of 2020, that issue was set, it was handled. It was put to bed. Well, that's what we thought. But on November 5 of 2021, we had an election. We had a new mayor. The night that the election took place, after it was determined that Mr. Clinch would be our new mayor, there were some Facebook posts between he and Mr. Tim Smith. First of all, Mr. Smith congratulating him on winning the election. And then further down in the post, it mentioned that he wanted him to get with him to discuss the property on Virginia Avenue. Several posts later on, it said, Mr. Blix said, we need to get together and talk about this. Okay? So then in the latter part of January, nothing happened until then. Then the latter part of January, I got notified that there was flagging tape being put in square of where this proposed building was to take place. So I went to Mr. Missy and the city manager and talked to him about it. He wasn't aware of the situation, being a new city manager. So I caught him up on the history of what had happened, just like I have you now. He said that he would look into it, but he promised me that there would be no building permit issued unless the city council was approached again and that city council overturned their previous decision. He, let's see, back up, make sure I don't miss anything. So, on February 11, 2022, all of a sudden concrete's being poured for foundation. So I go back to Mr. Mincy, ask him what he knows about it. He was real upfront with me. He said, I'm gonna tell you like it is. Tell you like I was told. Mayor Blitch called the city hall and talked to the secretariat up there and told them to issue Mr. Smith a permit without any other information being given. So, following the mayor's directive, the issue of a permit was given. While talking with Mr. I'll come out of that. While talking with Mr. Mincy in his office that day, he, at that point, was aware of the situation, and he said he had contacted the city attorney, and he was waiting for him to respond. While I was in the office, I got a phone call from our new mayor. The first thing he said was, I may have overstepped my authority. And my response to that was, no, you didn't maybe overstep it, you did overstep it. We just talked back into several other things in there, and he said, well, it got sort of, controversial, and he said, at one point, well, we just deal with it like it is. And he hung up the phone. So I took my phone and I called him back, thinking maybe he'd answer, and sure enough he did. And the first thing he said was, I apologize for hanging up, which I appreciated that. That's the way it should happen. During that conversation, he made the statement that his plate was full. He had about all he could handle. His plate was just full. And I said, well, maybe it is full. But you asked for this job. Be sure what you asked for, because you just might get it. And in fact, you did. So in that conversation, he said, I don't know what we'll do. I suggested two things. One, rescind the illegally obtained permit. And two, possibly get an injunction to stop any further construction on that property until the situation was resolved before the city council. He said he'd think about it and he'd get back to me that afternoon or the next day. I'm yet to hear from him, and I haven't received any. I made several phone calls. His voicemail's either full, or he didn't answer, or he didn't return any calls. And I've done that several times. Mr. Mincy called me on February 16 asking or letting me know the status of where he was at that point, that he was still waiting to hear back from the city attorney. I said, fine, I'll wait with you. So on March the 3rd, Mr. Mincy called me back. He said, are you sure that Mr. Smith has not reapproached the city council and got the city council changed their mind? So as far as I know, no, that has not happened. I've done a little research since then and found out that to anybody else's knowledge, it didn't happen either. At that time, also, when I was at City Hall, or on the phone with him, I asked if he would please provide me with a copy of the application of that building permit. He'd be glad to, and he did. I have photocopies of that permit along with the sewer or plumbing permit. And on the bottom of that permit request, there's a place for either the request to be permanent place for authorized signature. There's D of those, not denied, not approved, no signature. So I question, is it a valid permit? The permit that the Secretary of Staff issued, they did issue one. There is no place on it that even asks for a signature. So, is it valid? There's no indication of approved or denied, no signature. Mr. Smith and the mayor knew of the previous decision of the city council on September 10 of 2020, a year and a half earlier. And the city council had not reversed their decision. So in my opinion, the permit was obtained fraudulently from both parties involved, knowing it was wrong, and had been denied by the city council. Therefore, the rules and the regulations and the law as it applies to the zoning stipulations of the city of Homerville was violated intentionally. We're here today for you to decide what's gonna happen. The building's still being constructed. And now you've heard the background that I know. So what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do? The zoning board and the citizens of Homerville, I believe, want and expect the rules and regulations as set forth by the city council to be followed. We live in a democratic society, and if we don't like something that's going on, we don't agree with it, there's a process to take care of it. You go through that democratic process. You try to get your decision swayed in the way that you want it swayed. It may or may not happen. But you don't take it upon yourself to violate that rule. Just like I was going down the road 100 miles an hour and got stopped, and they, I was told, if you don't arrest me, I don't have to do that. I don't think it works that way. If you violate a law or rule or regulation, you have to pay a consequence of some kind. Now, the zoning board does not, we serve as an advisory board to the city council. That's all we do. We listen to the requests, we either deny them, we approve them, and we send that to the city council for them to vote on. The city council is the ones that has the responsibility and the job of making sure the building code is enforced. So the ball's in your court right now. What are we gonna do moving forward? If no consequences are imposed, you're going to set an awful precedent for several reasons. Said anybody that wants to do this kind of thing can do it and get by with it. The other thing is, you think about the people that have gone before the zoning board and the city council before and asked for a variance to be had or issued and been denied. There are several of those people in Clinch County, in the city of Homerville, that have been denied. So you can expect them to come back if something's not done. Just think of how they will react and how they would feel. So, you've heard everything I have to say, so now I'm gonna put it in your lap. I can't enforce it, you can. And like I say, I'm only a representative of the zoning board. The other two members right now are Mr. George Johnson and Mr. Brett James. They're all aware of the situation that we're sitting in tonight. So, do any of you have any questions for me that I might answer?
I would like to respond, but I think it's up to the council to speak first if they'd like, but I certainly won't respond.
You can go ahead with your response.
First off, I don't know what's on Facebook, but I didn't.
Oh, it's not there now. I've looked.
Well, I haven't moved anything that I don't even know how, and that's a fact. So it's amazing, and I'll recall say that didn't happen, but it didn't happen for a nefarious reason like you're implying, and I don't appreciate that. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't mean to disrespect you or that zoning board. All I was asking, I made a call. I didn't know I was violating anything. How the heck will I know? I just thought somebody asked me to do them a favor, and I did. I do them every day. I do them for everybody, whether they vote for me or not. So I don't appreciate that implication. As far as, letters from homeowners, things like that, that's got nothing to do with law. My question really boils down to this, is why is it in one neighborhood, you followed your rule, but in any other neighborhood, I'm talking residential now, not commercial. In the other neighborhood, you put in a trailer, you put a camper, you put fish guts out, you can do all kinds of stuff. Y'all don't have anything to say about that, why?
If you read your zoning board regulations, you can find out.
Okay, well, I
They're
read
there.
your name, but.
We have several zoning codes, and I know ones you probably maybe
You're
alluding
probably
to.
familiar with what I'm referring to.
Yeah, right across Forest Avenue, there's a very similar building, very similar housing building that Mr. Smith plans on putting in, would like to put in. That's in a different zone.
Well, and I'm.
This zone are 1B or 2B or whatever it is. One he's in is on R1A. That's the top zoning. Okay.
Okay, but my question, I mean, I appreciate what you're trying to explain to me, and that's more technical than I know, so I defer to your expertise on that. But my question still falls to, what's the difference from one neighborhood to another? Don't these all these people have the same right?
Way I understood it, and I'll have to look back and see, but when the zoning board was established and the city of Homerville was surveyed, whatever, different plots of different pieces of property were established and designated as a certain zone. Okay?
Right.
This side of the street, you make it have a mobile home. This side of the street, you can't. That's the regulations that's set forth by the zoning board and the city of Homerville.
Okay, but again, my question is why? Why is it, because I know what
Because
you're
it's the
talking
law.
about, but let me finish my question, and I listen to you.
Okay.
And I appreciate your presentation, and I do in the way you presented it. But my question still remains, so you're telling me if you live on one side of the street, we're gonna protect you and ban you, but if you live on another side of the street, well, it's just whatever y'all wanna do. That, I mean, that's the way I read it. Now, I'm sure you know more technical information than I do. But that's the way I read it, and that's the way the citizens read it. And if you wanna talk about people that live over there, I haven't talked to them all, I've talked to 3, just by pure coincidence, not by me calling and asking, and not one of them had a problem with it. But at the same time, that doesn't determine whether or not it can be done or not. Whether you get a letter from somebody saying they don't want it, or whether I get something saying from somebody they're fine with it, that doesn't have anything to do with it. But what I think now is the only thing that we can do, because I did what I would call overstep my bounds, but not knowingly. And I want to be real clear on that, because I get nothing out of it. And I do sort of resent that part of your presentation, especially now the Facebook stuff's gone. Why the heck is that? Because I know I didn't do it. But that being said, I think the only thing to do at this point, because the man started, is that we ask him, and of course this will be up to the council, but we ask him to suspend building. And then if he wants to apply for a new variance, let him apply for it and make his argument. And I'm not gonna support him personally in that argument, but I am gonna support the position I just took today, is that I still don't get it. I understand commercial and residential, but why does somebody that lives in a neighborhood, and I'm not saying that's what this is, but somebody that lives in a neighborhood that's probably a little more prosperous than some some other neighborhoods, why do they get that attention? And yet, every other neighborhood, it's no holds barred. I mean, these people pay taxes too. And that's where my responsibility lies, is taking care of them. Now, again, I apologize, and I did not mean any disrespect, and I had no idea that's what I was doing. Not because I'm stupid, and don't tell me I should have known. Why should I have known? Who would have told me?
Well, I'll tell you like a lot of lawyers and judges say,
Okay.
either you or you should have known.
Okay, well, when
Or either
did you,
check
when
it
did
out
you graduate
before-
law school?
I'm sorry,
When did you graduate law school?
I've had enough experience to be told that I either knew or should have known.
Okay, so you haven't graduated law school?
No, I haven't.
Okay. He has.
That's right.
Okay.
You ever heard that phrase, Mr.?
Oh, I've heard a lot of phrases over the years, and I don't mean to get testy with you, I don't.
Right.
Because-
Let me,
No,
let me
listen,
try to
I think-
answer
Let's
your
make a
concern about, one side of the street's one thing and one side of the street's another, okay?
Well, it's not the street per se as much as it is the people involved. It's like saying, well, look, if you live over here, we don't care. But if you live over here, well, yeah, we care. That's my issue. And
People
I-
that were in authority when these zoning regulations were set up felt that way.
And I'm not arguing that, and I'm not saying they're wrong and I'm right.
But it's the
Yeah.
rules and regulations.
But you have to understand something. Just like the implication you made here, like I just up and did it and said the heck with everybody, that wasn't what happened, and that's what you're trying to make it
No,
look.
I'm not saying that you did it.
You tried to make it look that way in the presentation, very subtly, but you tried to, but it's okay, I can handle it. But the only thing I know to do, like I say, is ask them to stop building, let them ask for another variance, and we go from there.
Okay.
And unless you have a different solution, that's appropriate.
To answer your question about the letter or whatever discussions from people on the street, no, that is not a deciding factor, but it is a consideration when the zoning board listens to the request for
Why?
variance change.
Because see, the question isn't
For
about.
the very, all right, let's take this, just make an example right here.
Okay.
The next street over from, or across the street from you, wherever you live, and I don't even know, across the street from you, somebody wants to put a hot pan in.
Put a hot pan, right?
Would you like that?
Of course not, but they're not building a hot pan.
That's the reason that people have a chance to voice their opinion.
But like you
That's
just,
the reason signs are put up when a zoning change has been made.
Right.
To notify the public so their input can be made.
well, but let's go back to what you said you had some knowledge about. So it's okay if I don't want a hot pan across the street from me. But yet it's okay for somebody else to have somebody string fish guts in their backyard. That just doesn't make sense to me. It's like selective representation. I mean, that's the way I view it. And I may be completely wrong, but that's the way I view it. I don't know. I mean, I just think this thing needs to be looked at a little more, clearly. And there may be plenty of people over there that are upset about it. That very well could be. I only talked to 3 and it wasn't intentional. I didn't call them and say, hey, are you okay with it? But they told me they were.
Well,
So,
the one that had the conversation owns 4 pieces of property on that street.
I'm sorry.
The one that had the conversation with the zoning board member has 3 or 4 pieces of property that he owns on that street.
Okay?
I think he has a little bit of a voice.
Well, again, I go back to,
I know, but it makes a difference.
I mean, and he may be right, or her, or whoever it is. Okay, I'm not getting into that. I don't even want to get in a fight over this. I didn't think anything about this, but it's done now, and I'm sorry. And there's no way I would have known. Listen, if you know the mess we're trying to clean up, if you had any clue.
Yeah, I know you got several messes to clean up.
I beg your pardon?
I know y'all have several messes to clean up.
Yeah, I've got.
And I would not like to be
I've got
unusual.
2 loaded guns sitting right here waiting to go, but I'm not gonna do those tonight. But my point is, and I used the term overstep my bounds because I thought it was appropriate, but I didn't know that's what I was doing. Okay? Now it's done, so we correct it. Now, do I agree with everything? No. Did I do this for a self-serving reason? Absolutely not. I don't get one damn dime from this town, not one. My office was painted, my furniture's in there because my family paid for it. Not one penny. I don't even get paid to do this job. I do it because I wanna serve the
The
people.
zoning board people don't even,
I beg your pardon?
the zoning board did not receive
I
any
know
pay.
you don't, and I'm very aware of that. But my point is, there's nothing I do up here self-serving.
Let me make a statement. You may not have known that you were doing something wrong,
Correct.
but I assure you, Mr. Tim Smith knew that it was illegal.
And I can't speak for him.
You did it for him. He should
Well,
have done
I didn't mean to do it that way. To be quite
Okay.
honest with you, I just thought I was calling being nice. I didn't realize I was making some
it. Next
kind
time I
of.
get caught speeding, I'll call you and see if you can help me.
Well, if I can, I will. But,
One thing, let me, we've gone over this,
Okay.
and I don't see any point of us going any further. When I sent my request to speak to you all today, I also put in that request to Mr. Mincy that anyone else that may be in attendance tonight may want, wish to speak on this issue. If they do, then I would ask that you let them do so. I don't know that there is, maybe, there may not.
I do not object. Would anybody like to speak?
I would just like to say one thing. Just
Okay,
one thing, just
one
one
at a
thing.
time. Hold on, man, hold on. I just need to see who all we got. We got one back there, one here. Yes, ma'am, you may go first.
I just need to say one thing. I don't know what's being built over here, but as far as the size of the building, I know, and I don't know anything about the measurements, but you know, when you build a building, you've got to have so many feet this way from a building, so many feet that way from the building. Each way has to have so many feet away from the building. I don't know the size of the building, and I don't know how many feet it is away from the building. On another thing, there was denial done, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. They wanted to build a house behind the post office. And there was not enough room to build that house. It was denied. So it does not matter where the place is. If it's not enough room to build a building, then it's just not enough room. That's all I got to say.
And not disagreeing with you, but I don't think that's the main issue here. Main issue here, based on what Mr. Henson said, is those houses in that neighborhood have to be a certain size. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's.
Just like behind the post office,
I beg your pardon?
just like the one behind the post office.
Okay, but, so I think the issue is, we're talking about square footage of the house itself, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And the size of the lot.
okay. Well, then that could be, that's something
Well,
else.
it was, that was taken into consideration. That's what I mentioned.
All right, who wants to go next? We got one back there, two back
I
there.
say little tiny houses is becoming a big popular thing. And Tim is just Tim, nobody but him. And I see nothing wrong with what he's done started. A tiny house is very much appropriate. No going up all over the country.
I'd like to respond to that.
Sure.
Let me say this, to suffice our time, I think, Mr. David, I appreciate everything that you've said. I thank you for coming tonight and speaking with us and giving us clarification on the issue, bringing me up to speed. I think the mayor had something that he put on the floor about, getting the council to vote, and I know we can be on this issue all night. So if there is a thing that need to be voted on tonight, then let's do that. And so we can move forward, because we're still got more to do on the agenda.
Well,
So if we're gonna do that, let's go ahead and let a motion be made and let the council make a decision.
well, I think it's, in fairness, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but before we do that, y'all at least hear from the guy again.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Henson, more than welcome to come back with a buddy.
We can make a decision tonight.
You said we need to hear from who again?
I beg your pardon?
You said we need to hear from the guy again, what guy are you referring to?
The
Yes.
Smith that he's
He
talking
wanted to
about.
speak. He had his hands
No, that's not,
up. He had his hands up.
right, no, I'm not bypassing, I didn't mean it like that. I'm saying that's not Mr. Smith, he wanted to speak too. But what my suggestion was, is let's stop him from building and let him reapply for a variance, and then you vote on it. That would be my suggestion.
Unless,
Now, I mean, if y'all want to vote on that, I'm fine with that. But I just don't think we need to jump that far, and I'm not saying Mr. Henson is correct. But I think,
that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna make a decision about stopping the building, let's put the motion on the floor, so we can do that.
okay, would be all right, does this gentleman
Yes,
did
yes,
ask to
Pastor.
speak?
Yes, Pastor.
Yes, sir, would you like to speak? Sure, I'll speak.
Hello, just to kind of follow up on what you've been asking David, you were asking, what's the big deal about building a smaller house in that community? It's really about property value. If you build a 3,000 square foot house in that neighborhood, and then somebody builds a 600 square foot house on that street and against zoning, it's going to bring down the property value of the house that you've already built. And it would go for the same as, and I believe the neighborhood that you live in is zoned very similarly. And if you ever wanted to sell your family's home place, the property value would go down if somebody had built a 600 square foot. And so that's kind of why zoning laws exist. And it's to protect the homeowners and their investments. Further, and I just want to say, I was one of the first people that I think I contacted him when the concrete was being poured, and I've kind of been run down around town because I did that. The reason I did that had nothing to do with the house being built. I own no property in that area, and so it's not really a matter of I'm worried about zoning or anything like that. My main concern was because I believe what is right is right and what is wrong is wrong. And I knew that the city council had already made that decision, and that it was my understanding from my conversation with you that you had made that decision, not city council, to issue that building permit. I had to kind of, I had to assume
I never said that at all.
Okay, let me finish. I had to assume that
Okay,
because
and if you're gonna say something, say it.
I was going to.
Okay, well, you did.
Well, that's because you interrupted me, sir.
No, it's because you already said it.
But I did have to assume that because of some of the things that you said, and then going back and talking to Mr. Henson and he told me. My concern in all of this is the city council is the one who has this authority, and by the way this is done, the mayor has taken authority from you, and I don't want that ever to become a precedent. And so my point in all of this, and I understand what you said that it was accidental, but my goal in all of this was to protect the authority of the city council. Sure. And I just want to make sure, because the family, the Smith family, I think has been very upset with me. I had no problem with their home or with them. I didn't even know who it was. That was my concern, was just the rule.
Well, if that was your concern, then why didn't you call council? Why didn't you call me?
I didn't call you.
I'm the one creating the problem, which
You called me. I called to talk to Mr. Mincy.
Well, then I had a message to call you. I didn't just
No. I talked to the people.
I don't even know who you are.
I'm Paul Fulton. I'm the pastor at First Baptist.
Well, nice to
Been
meet
here
you.
for 10 years. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
But, I have never seen you either. But I will say that the day that I contacted City Hall, it was simply to find out if they had a building permit. And when I spoke to the girl there, she said, "You need to talk to the city manager. Would you like him to call you back?" And I said, "Yes." And then the city manager didn't call me back. You called me back.
And that may have been how it happened now. Hold on, Mr. property values matter, but somebody else's, they don't.
That's not what we're saying.
Well,
That's
really,
not the
then
point of
explain
zoning.
it to me. I won't understand it. I won't understand why we got somebody over here that's worried about his property value with fish guts in his backyard and a trailer by his house, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I understand what Mr. Henson said
Right.
about different tiers and all that, but it makes no sense. As citizens,
Well,
period.
first, I don't think anybody should have fish guts poured in their backyard.
But yet they do.
Yeah, the city needs to correct that issue. I'm just telling you why there are zoning laws. I'm not from Homerville. I've experienced zoning laws in everywhere that I've lived. And that's why they have zoning laws, so that if you're going to invest in a big property, that property is protected. If you're investing in a 800 square foot home, then that area tends to be where 800 square foot homes. That's what zoning is.
Well, I appreciate the lesson.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Bowden, did you want to say something?
My thing was basically just trying to get everything on the way, basically like one, because basically all that conversation just happened was the same thing was basically y'all were gonna talk about that, so everything that was just said was basically unnecessary. So the thing about it is, if we could get back on the program and get back situated, that would be, I think everybody would like that, because basically the same problem is about to get handled in a few minutes if we could just get on with it.
All right, would anybody like to make a motion to, have Mr. Smith suspend the building and inform him if he wants to apply for another variance, he might.
I make a motion to have Mr. Smith stop on the building and submitting another variance for approval.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, actually, y'all have to approve it, yeah.
Is that right?
That's correct. Hold on.
I haven't read the zoning ordinance in regards to his time frame to apply for another variance. It's usually about a year's time of when they can apply.
I haven't really looked at that issue.
So I think the proper motion is a motion from the city council to have Mr. Mitzi and myself take whatever actions necessary for, to stop the progression of the building there. If he's allowed to apply for a variance, I'm pretty sure that he is. It's been
Yeah.
2 years.
Always.
Yeah, so I think it'll be this time frame. That'll be up to him to apply for that and come back before the zoning board and then before the city council if it ends up the same way. So the motion would be to have the city manager, myself, do all things necessary, including litigation if necessary, to stop the progression of the building going on in violation of the zoning ordinance, not having a building permit.
Does anybody want to
You
repeat?
already finished, didn't you?
No. He hadn't. I don't think.
No, he's not.
I wouldn't think so. Would anybody like to regurgitate what Mr. Corley said?
I made the motion for city manager, Mr. Wallace, and city attorney, Chad Corley, to stop progress on and stop the building on Mr. Smith's property.
Would anybody like to second?
Second.
Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, yeah, for your time.
Thank you for coming. All right, Mr. Broomberg, are you here tonight? How you doing, sir? All right. You want to address the council?
Ben is the owner of Daylight Donuts, and they're going to be doing a complete business remodel. And he has applied for an alcohol and liquor license for consumption at their place on 84. It's running the paper for the 2 weeks that's required, and it just has to be approved by council for them to proceed.
Okay, Wallace or Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, after it's advertised in the paper, don't we have to have a public hearing on it to ensure that?
That's correct. advertised tonight for the public hearing, is tonight?
Yes.
It's been 2 weeks.
Okay, so, but
So,
the date
is that-
time was given for tonight for the public hearing?
That we
Yes.
were gonna vote for it tonight?
That he would get his hearing tonight.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
the proper thing to do is to call the public hearing to order and allow anybody to speak in regards to the application for the alcohol license that wants to speak.
All right, so we need to adjourn from regular session.
Well, it's usually, the public hearings are usually done immediately before, immediately after, but I think it's fine to call the public hearing to order in the normal course of.
So I don't need to adjourn.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, the public hearing on, Mr. Broomberg's alcohol license is called to order. Mr. Broomberg, would you like to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would anybody like to say anything concerning this alcohol license?
I do.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
daddy was killed by a drunk driver when I was 9.5 years old. My two children's daddy and two first cousins and brother was killed by a drunk driver. And this town had a clean to finish stores. We got enough, we don't need another.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to say anything?
Where is this building?
It's where Daylight Donuts is, where Homerville used to be. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's on the other side, where,
They're gonna do a renovation and open that entirely up. So it would be a full service restaurant.
But both sides?
Yes.
They all one pages.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll work.
Okay, so it's just gonna be one big restaurant?
Yes.
sir.
I got it. Okay. But would anybody else like to speak or comment?
If I could just add, I understand concerns about the alcohol, but we're losing lots of money to other towns people are going out to eat at other restaurants where they can have a drink with their meal. If we do this responsibly, it's right at the red light. We can absolutely, have the police force, prepared to protect and serve. But it will bring so much more back to our economy, and it will retain our dollars here in Homerville instead of them going to Ware or Lowndes, or even, Coffee County, to have a meal with, or have an alcohol, drink with their meal.
But if that revenue that brings in is gonna count for when you got so many lives that's killed by a drunk driver, is their revenue worth all that?
Well, I mean, I'll say, to add on to that, I mean, if people wanna drink, they're gonna drink anyway. And if they gotta drive out of town, they gotta drive 45 minutes here, they can still have an accident driving 45 minutes. So if they're going driving 5 minutes to driving 5 back home, that kind of lessens the chance, I'll say, I guess, or I should say.
since we've had the Spritz, open, have we seen an increase in stopping people with DUIs?
No.
Since we opened this, have we even,
No, we haven't seen any increase.
okay.
Cause I don't drive much anymore.
Oh,
Well, if there's no one else that wants to speak, would anybody like to make a motion on beer?
Well, first thing, close the public hearing, if nobody else wants to speak.
That's why he's here. Would anybody else like to speak? Okay, well then
Motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to approve those licenses for the.
Well, no, we got to close the meeting first.
Make a motion to close.
Second. In favor? Opposed? And now there's,
Can I ask a few questions first?
sure.
Have we checked out the distances and all of that?
Yes.
Measurements and all?
Yes.
So,
Yes. Once the church that was sitting at the red light, Love God Ministries, once that moved, then there was no issues with the space in downtown.
all right.
Anything else?
Asshole.
You wanna tell me what else I do now? Would anybody like to make a motion on the alcohol license for Daylight Donuts?
I make a motion to approve the alcohol license for Daylight Donuts.
Is there a second? Those in favor? Opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Now we'll miss Foley's commission, we'll move on to the Main Street program, Ms. Laura Nichols.
Okay,
Hey, Laura, hold on.
yes, I'm sorry.
Do we need to make that motion under the new name, or, because from what I've been told, they have a new name now, it's not.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the reason why I asked Daylight Donuts, are you changing the name?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry, what is it?
Big Daddy's on 84. It's a corporate name.
I don't know if that's gonna help the cause. Okay, we need to rescind that, and we
To
just,
approve motion to approve the application for, alcohol license for Big Daddy.
all right, would somebody like to make Big Daddy happy? So we need to revote. All right, would somebody like to make a motion to approve or not approve Big Daddy's alcohol license?
I make a motion to approve Big Daddy's alcohol license.
Is there a second? In favor? Opposed? Congratulations, Big Daddy. All right, Mrs. Zipper, would you like to
Sure.
address the council?
Yes, please. We have started back with our brick paver project. The cost of the bricks are $50 a piece, and they're the ones that are sandblasted to go around the fountain. If anyone's interested, they can contact me directly. We are partnering with Clinch County High School to have a career fair, and we're opening it not only to Clinch County businesses, but to anyone who would be looking to fill positions, or also, give more information about what they do to hopefully incite some new entrepreneurship or some career pathways for our high school students. Our depot rentals have significantly increased. At this time, we've had 6 rentals already, and we have 27 booked already for the year, and that's more than what over the last 2 years we were able to rent because of COVID. And then I will be working with the pastor at United Methodist Church for Hands on Homerville again. We're trying to kind of work out some dates for late April or early May. And to speak to the issue that's happening with Pea Ridge Park, I would love to bring a group to Pea Ridge Park to help with cleanup efforts. So I will make it my business to be at the Pea Ridge Park meeting next week so that we can work out some details to see how we can be helpful. The Hands on Homerville is not it's not exclusive just to downtown. Mauser picked up Macy Brant's Park just because we ended up putting them there. We thought it was the safest place because junior beta students will be volunteering with them. And so this will be another wonderful place for us to start, and hopefully we'll have a business that would be willing to jump in and sponsor that park to get it up to what it needs. But I will be at the meeting, and that's on the 15th. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll be at the meeting on the 15th to see how we can get some input to do that. But I just like to encourage, when we do advertise, for everybody to take part. It's a great day. It's 4 hours, but we had 150 people volunteer last time, and it was incredible what 150 people can do in 4 hours. So just would love to have everybody participate. And then we're also going to be starting some outdoor activities back downtown, Makers Market, Farmers Market, and hopefully some live music soon, just to kind of bring some vibrancy back downtown. So that's what I have.
Well, thank you, we appreciate what you do for it.
Thank you.
Laura,
Yes.
get with, I give you number for Brady United Way of Austin.
Okay.
They also are over the area for Clinch, and they're looking to do something that will address mental illness and substance abuse, and they have funding for this area. And so May is mental health awareness month. Mm-hmm. So they're looking to, like they did a little near, maybe sponsor a concert and just bring people down, have different facilities that can come and just set up so anybody who's feeling mental illness or substance abuse or just have questions, just have different vendors set up to address that, and they can put on a full-fledged concert, and he's willing to sponsor that. So I'll get you his contact information, but I spoke with him, and that's something that they're looking to do, and they're even volunteering with the hands-on
Fantastic.
Homerville, so I'll get you that information.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
Anything else? Chief, you're up.
As y'all know, I'm still undermanned. I have 4 police officers plus myself, which I handle all the office stuff and stuff that goes on day to day when the community comes in, wants to speak, or I also answer calls because we're so short-handed. I have 3 officers here tonight. I have done background checks on every one of them, complete background checks, as far as pull all their records and everything. I can discuss more about their backgrounds in executive session, and I would like y'all to choose to hire them. I just need some help. And also, as far as the ordinances and things like that, we need a code enforcement officer to enforce some of these ordinances, but we can't we gotta hire some police officers first before we can look into the code enforcement officer to help out with that. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Is there anything else?
The officers that are here tonight, James Williams, Devin Brown, and Derek Touchton, which have all worked for the agency in the past before. They did a good job.
All right. Well, we'll move on now to council members. Mr. Hardy, do you have anything to report on the police and fire? Ms. West, do you have anything to report on the police and fire department? The
No.
police and fire department.
Go ahead.
Mr. McBride, Parks and Street, nothing? Okay. Mrs. Moorhead, on water, sewer, cemetery, and zoning.
As you've already discussed, they have we got a grant, working on some things with the school, but also to, fix up some things, our infrastructure in our water department, so looking forward to see how we can do that. Mr. King has still been doing an outstanding job at the cemetery. I appreciate everything that he's doing, and, one of the things we're still looking to, I think Mr. Wise get back with me about putting some lights out there at the cemetery. When it's dark out there, and I think it'd just be good, so also when the police is patrolling at night, that they have more lights, cause I know they normally have a spotlight that they try to use to see what's going on, but just to illuminate that, but not to offend those on Lenny Street, cause I used to live on Lenny Street, so maybe not make it too bright, but just enough to illuminate it, so it'll help, the police department, but also when we're having funerals and it's kinda running late with, the way COVID had it, and sometimes it was running late and getting dark, so hopefully we can get with, Slash Pine to have more information about that. And I just ask you all to, please be patient. I promise you that we do respect, as we respect the living, we do respect the dead, and we're not trying to do anything to harm your loved ones' graves or anything like that. And please don't, if we're out there, if they're out there cleaning it, please don't go and tell somebody that we're trying to harm their loved ones. They're just trying to clean the cemetery up, move the stuff, and getting the, our guys, we are short help with the, street department, but they're getting out there as quick as they can to get the trash up. But they are definitely working very hard to make sure as stuff is put on the side to get it up. So work with us as we're trying our best to keep that cemetery up to par. And I truly believe that I've seen other cemeteries in other small counties, and I guarantee they don't look as good as the one that we have here. I've seen it where the city does not take care of those cemeteries, but I think that we do an outstanding job with the people that we've hired to maintain our cemeteries. We're not gonna be able to make everybody happy, but please don't try and cause confusion while we're trying to work together in this city to make things better and make sure we take care of, your loved ones, so when they're going out to visit, you know, it is a decent place where they don't have to be sitting over high grass and different things like that. So just be patient with the guys as they're out there cleaning and doing what they can to, you know, make the cemetery look presentable.
May I add something?
Yes.
One thing, which is not to fall, of course, but I've had some complaints from some citizens, over the past couple of weeks, and Mr. King had actually mentioned this to me before, about people running over graves out there. And they're scarring the markers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we can police that. I mean, I don't, but I think that's definitely something we need to focus on, because to me, that's almost a hiding disrespect.
What you had was people at night riding four-wheelers out there and running over, cemeteries and knocking over headstones and different things like that, just being totally disrespectful. So I know that the police chief and, officers were patrolling that to try to cut back on people riding on those four-wheelers and just being reckless and disrespectful. So, that's something that the chief has already been addressed, before, so.
Okay. All right, is there anything else? Yes.
Hey, I want to say one thing. I've been in this town a long time. We've got one of the best mayors we've had in a long time. And that police chief, he's as close to Truman Lee as everyone I've seen yet. And I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate that. Council ain't too bad either now.
We've got a good council. I'll put them in.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. We all do. All right, Mr. Williams, Recreation and Airport. You got anything to report?
No, I don't have anything. AC Carol, they're trying to take care of it, so I don't have anything to say on the regulation department. And I don't have anything on the airport either. Just, city manager, when you have the city work, the road crew ride around and check out the potholes, we have some potholes over there on Lynn Street that need some attention, and just like we do need some lighting over there too.
Yeah.
So, look into some lighting over there as well.
I've been on the street,
All right, if that's all you have, and I'm just gonna speak a moment on the, for lack of a better term, the state of some of the things we've been doing. The audits are coming along. As you know, we're not current with audits, contrary to what we've been told. And there's a lot of information to get up, and I was gonna go very in-depth into that, but I didn't realize we were gonna run this long. And I've got 2 folders here full of information that I want everybody to see, but it just take too long tonight. So they can understand what we as a council, mayor, manager, city employees, just exactly how hard everybody has worked. And we're just getting warmed up. We got a long way to go. And we're gonna do that, but I'll get into that more in depth at another meeting. Again, the county's coming along, we got to find information, it's hard to find everything. If you saw what Wallace and the other ladies that work in there walked into, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it was horrendous, and it still is. They cleaned it up, but we still have to go through everything in order to get the audits, because some of the audits that we've had, the last audit we had was filed December of 2021, but it was for 2019. So we're that far behind, and the audits aren't 100% correct from what I've been told by that county. So they're working on that, we're working on that, so be patient with us. Now, as to the water department, they are doing all they can. You have to understand that we have, basically inherited a dilapidated system. And luckily, before I got here, so I mean, I can't take credit for it, but we've got a grant now that's gonna help us improve that. And through a few members of the community, at no expense next to the city. And I won't call them by name, cause I don't wanna embarrass them. One or two of them live in the neighborhood that we had discrepancy about tonight, but they have graciously helped put us in contact with an expert in this field that's gonna be here Monday or Tuesday. And he's gonna go over some of these things with us, and I'm talking about the manager and the clerk, and of course myself, and then anybody that wants to be there, just be during the day, and it's hard. But they help try to give us some direction, to make sure that we get the most out of this grant that we can possibly get, that's gonna serve you and everybody here to the absolute fullest. So we are working on that. Do not think for 1 minute that we've let a guard down, because we have not. Now, with that being said, would anybody like, or does anybody have a question for me? Let me back up. Okay, with that being said, would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn regular session and move into executive session?
Call for motion that we adjourn this meeting and go into executive session.
Is there a second?